NBC's Aaron Gilchrist is following the Harris campaign from Washington. Michael Hardaway worked for House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and Illinois Senator Dick Durbin. And Susan Del Percio is a Republican strategist and an MSNBC political analyst. So, Aaron, can we take what we saw from Harris in this CNN interview and then give us a sense of how this could set the stage for that debate coming up in September?
Yeah, I think you can look at this as an indicator of what we might expect from that debate on September 10th. Listen, I had a former administration official who worked closely with Vice President Harris tell me that this is a woman who is masterful when it comes to staying on message. And I think that's a lot of what you saw in this interview. We didn't learn a lot of new information about what Vice President Harris would do were she to win the election, but we did get to see sort of how she handles a direct line of questioning, how she might handle a back and forth with former President Trump on the debate stage as well. As we understand it from sources that our team covering the Harris campaign has been able to speak to, she has spent the last several weeks preparing for the debate and will ramp up those efforts next week, obviously going into the weekend, and the debate that will follow, that will be in the following week. And we also understand that the campaign has really been focusing on trying to figure out how the vice president can avoid falling for personal attacks that they anticipate will come from the former president and not sort of returning those attacks. At the same time, as you suggested, there's an effort to make sure that she's able to stand her ground with the former president, that she's able to stand up to him, sort of allow him to be a bully if that's the direction he chooses to go into, but also not sort of falling for him being a bully. And at the same time, as I said, staying on message, talking about her plans for the future, what she would want to do for the middle class, and also trying to sort of remain calm and focused on that throughout the course of the debate, as opposed to being rattled herself, allowing him the former president to make whatever statements he might make and rattling him by not sort of taking the bait, Ryan.
Yeah, interesting strategy. So, Susan, we know the Trump campaign has been hammering Harris for her ties to the more unpopular parts of Joe Biden's time in office. But for her part, she really showed no signs of running from that legacy in the interview last night. Let's take a little bit of a listen.
I think history is going to show a number of things about Joe Biden's presidency. I think history is going to show that in so many ways it was transformative, be it on what we have accomplished around finally investing in America's infrastructure, investing in new economies, in new industries, what we have done to bring our allies back together and have confidence in who we are as America and grow that alliance, what we have done to stand true to our principles.
You heard her say we several times there. Susan, is that a smart political move by embracing the administration that way?
She really has little choice, Ryan, and that's because she is part of the administration. But it also shows another quality that I happen to like about the vice president that hasn't been talked about a lot, her loyalty, her sense of loyalty. Throughout this whole past 5 weeks, she's never tried to throw the president under the bus or really distance herself from him. But on top of that, I think at this point, the one mistake she's making as far as distancing herself from Biden is on this idea of lowering price costs, especially when it comes to food. The Biden administration, I believe, made one fatal error, and that was in its naming of the Inflation Reduction Act. Because even though you reduce inflation, prices rarely come down. And that's just the reality. You hope your dollar buys more, but prices won't come down very much. I'd rather see her go after food processing plants or formula or people that have monopolies and say we're going to break up the monopolies, create competition, and deliver better prices.
So, Michael, at the same time, NBC News is reporting that she may have to actually change tactics at the debate a little bit. This is what our reporting says. Drawing a distinction between Harris and Biden is a source of tension. There are some on the Harris team that are taking the approach that she may have to respectfully but forcefully lay blame for some of the problems, like the Afghanistan withdrawal, squarely at Biden's feet. So, Michael, how does she thread that needle, keeping in mind that they will not only be working together in the month ahead, but he's also going to be campaigning for her as well?
Well, she doesn't have to finger point. The reality, for instance, with the Afghanistan withdrawal is this is a 20-plus year effort that was mismanaged in the beginning. And so very similar to immigration, you have a situation where she parachutes in, she's expected to fix an issue quickly that's been happening for decades, and that's just not possible. And so she doesn't have to distance herself. She has to tell the story of 15 million jobs. She has to tell the story of a historic infrastructure bill that was delivered after 3 generations of failures by previous presidents. She has to tell the story of historically high business creation and black business creation and historically low unemployment. She has to tell those stories. America leads the world right now in oil production, in part due to fracking. She should tell those stories. And so she doesn't have to distance herself or criticize or point fingers at the president. She just has to explain her positions and why she feels that way and what this administration has delivered for the American people.
It's interesting you bring up fracking, Michael, because Susan Harris was asked about that last night. At one point, she was clearly opposed to fracking. Her position on that has changed. This is how she explained that shift. Take a listen.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
In 2019, I believe, in a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
So, Susan, she admits that she did change her position, but now she wants voters to trust her that she won't change it again. How do voters respond to this kind of machination by a candidate?
I think it's perfectly acceptable for someone who's been serving at the pinnacle of power as Vice President of the United States after 3.5 years to develop her own opinions based on different information and stand up for it. She did say she was against fracking in 2019. She knew to be part of the Biden ticket, she would have to adapt in 2020, which she did. Perhaps she's learned more. But the point is that she is giving a position. And in contrast to Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, if they want to go there, I take that fight every day. Let's not forget the words that J.D. Vance used to describe Donald Trump, or how many positions Donald Trump has had on abortion. We could go on and on and on. Harris answered that question like a politician does, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Is that enough, though, Michael? Because this is clearly a line of attack by Trump and his allies, that she's a flip-flopper and that she can't be trusted. How do they respond to that?
Look, I've worked for many politicians, and the reality is that you can't trust anyone who on Wednesday feels the same way they felt on Monday if they've been given new information on Tuesday. People's positions evolve. She's learned new things, she's had new experiences, and that's perfectly normal for all of us. I'd say, to Susan's point, Donald Trump has flip-flopped on dozens of issues. And so the reality is that for the fracking question, America leads in global oil production, in part because of fracking, under this administration, of which she is a part of. I have no problem with the fact that her view on that has evolved, just like every elected official in this country and really across the world. And so that's a clean answer, and there's no real issue in terms of why she changed her mind. It makes perfect sense.
And Susan, you are a Republican. She mentioned last night that she'd be willing to put a Republican in her cabinet. Obviously, most Republicans probably will not vote for Kamala Harris. But is there a segment of the population, maybe people like you, that will help them maybe cast a ballot for her when they wouldn't consider doing it otherwise?
Well, for me personally, there's no doubt I'm voting for Vice President Harris. I would never have voted for Donald Trump, never would vote for Donald Trump. But what this did was it followed a theme that the vice president was trying to build up on from the convention. And that is, she will be president for all people. She wants to hear different opinions. Being a prosecutor, she's had to play both sides of an argument. I think she probably enjoys having that back and forth. And yes, it shows that she's not closed-minded to some Republicans. It also gives a little bit of a permission structure. There's no guarantee that she'll do it, but at least she didn't slam the door on it.